Welcome to our deep dive into emotional intelligence. You sent a whole bunch of materials on EI, and I'm really curious
Mhm.
to dig into it. Like, what are the core principles? How can we like boost our own EQ?
Yeah.
All that. There are some fascinating claims here, like that EI might be even more important than IQ for success, which is a pretty bold statement. So we're going to explore that, along with the link between EQ and great leadership,
Yeah.
and then also some techniques for managing stress, all that good stuff. And lucky for us, we have our expert here who can help us sift through it all.
Yeah, it does seem like EI is having a moment. And, for good reason. What's interesting is that the research is going beyond, just the be nice aspect of EI. It's becoming clear that, these are like learnable skills with real impact on your work and relationship and even like your health.
Yeah, absolutely. So help me understand this. We hear EI tossed around a lot. Can we
Mhm.
just like get a clear definition? What are we actually talking about here?
For sure. At its core, emotional intelligence is the ability to be aware of and like understand and manage your own emotions, but it also involves recognizing and influencing the emotions of others. And one thing that really stood out to me in these sources is that EI isn't about suppressing emotions. It's about using them as information to understand yourself and the people around you.
Okay, so it's like data almost. It's like using your emotions as data points.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. So if someone has high EI, how does that actually like show up in their life? What would I notice about them?
Well, one thing that really jumped out at me in the research was the emphasis on balance. So people with high EI tend to be able to juggle work, relationships, and personal time without getting completely burned out. They seem to have this knack for knowing when to step back and recharge.
I can see how that would be important.
Yeah.
So like they're not afraid to set boundaries
Hmm.
to like protect their well-being.
Right. And that ties into another characteristic: authenticity. High EI individuals, they just seem comfortable with their strengths and their weaknesses. They're not constantly seeking external validation.
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, so thinking about, like all of this stuff, it makes me think about the inner workings of the brain. Like, how does this play out neurologically?
Oh, that's where it gets really fascinating. So the materials get into how our brains process emotions. And there are a few key players here. First, you have the neurotransmitters like dopamine, serotonin, and norepinephrine. So these chemicals, they play a crucial role in how we experience and regulate our feelings. But it's not just about chemicals. The research also points to the limbic system, the hippocampus, and even the interaction between the left and right brain hemispheres. So the limbic system acts like our emotional control center, reacting to what's happening around us and triggering responses.
So when I feel that rush of anger or excitement, that's my limbic system.
Yeah.
Just like kicking in. Is there anything I could do with that initial surge?
Exactly. Knowing that your limbic system is triggering, that that fight or flight response, you can actually consciously engage your prefrontal cortex by taking a few deep breaths. That pause allows you to choose a more reasoned response. So that's like one thing you can do. And then you have the hippocampus. It's all about memory. It compares the current situation to past experiences, which then colors our emotional response.
Oh, so if I had a negative experience public speaking in the past, my hippocampus might trigger anxiety the next time I have to give a presentation.
That's a perfect example. Yep. And then you have the left and right hemispheres, each processing information differently. The right hemisphere identifies emotions, while the left hemisphere tries to make sense of them logically. It's a constant back and forth, almost like your brain is trying to figure out what to make of your feelings.
So much is happening
Wow.
behind the scenes.
Right.
Okay, so how do we actually get better
Hmm.
at managing all of this?
Well, that's what's so exciting. Because understanding this complex system gives you more control. Instead of feeling like you're at the mercy of your emotions, you can start to see them as these signals your brain is sending you. And you can learn to interpret them more effectively.
That's really cool. And you mentioned neurotransmitters earlier. Is there a deeper dive into how those actually impact our emotions?
Yeah, definitely. The research suggests that, specific neurotransmitter imbalances can actually contribute to emotional dysregulation. So, for example, low serotonin levels are often linked to things like anxiety and depression.
That's a good point.
Yeah, but there's good news here. You can actually address those imbalances naturally. Things
Yeah.
like, exercise and diet and even spending time in nature. They can all have a positive impact on your brain chemistry.
That's empowering. It's not just about accepting things as they are. Like we can take action.
Exactly. It's about understanding the mind-body connection. and how lifestyle choices can influence your emotional well-being.
There's one aspect of EI that feels especially crucial to me: empathy.
Oh, you're hitting on a major point here. Because the sources, they really emphasize empathy as the foundation of emotional intelligence. It's that ability to step outside your own experience and understand what someone else is feeling.
But why do some people seem to struggle with empathy?
Well, the materials highlight a few reasons for this. Some people fall prey to, cognitive biases, these mental shortcuts that can distort our perceptions. For example, someone might attribute another person's failure to their personality while ignoring external factors that might have contributed. It's like they're assuming everyone sees the world through the same lens.
So how can we develop empathy if it doesn't come naturally? Is that something we can actually learn?
Absolutely. The research actually offers a few actionable steps. Active listening is crucial. Putting away distractions, making eye contact, asking thoughtful questions to show you're trying to understand the other person's experience.
So creating a space where they feel heard, not just waiting for your turn to speak.
Right. But it goes beyond just listening. The research also encourages vulnerability. Let the other person see that you're not perfect, that you understand what it's like to struggle. It's that shared human experience that can build genuine connection.
Yeah, I love that. It reminds me of the saying, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Exactly. And another important step is challenging your own biases. This means actively questioning your assumptions, seeking out different viewpoints, and being open to the possibility that you might be wrong.
It's like actively fighting against those mental shortcuts that can limit our understanding of others. So are there any other ways to cultivate empathy?
Well, the sources actually suggest using your imagination. So even if you've never experienced a particular hardship, try to envision what it would be like to walk in that person's shoes. Imagine their thoughts, feelings, and experiences. It's about developing the ability to connect with someone else's emotions, even if you haven't lived their specific experiences.
Yeah, I love that. This makes me think about self-awareness and self-management, two more key components of EI.
You're making a great connection. The research presents developing self-awareness as a journey, not a destination. It takes time and effort to really understand who you are, how you react in different situations, and what makes you tick.
So where do we begin this journey of self-discovery?
Well, one of the first steps highlighted in the research is differentiation. This means setting aside time for reflection, journaling, and connecting with yourself. It's about creating space to explore your thoughts, feelings, and motivations without distractions.
Like hitting the pause button on that constant stream of thoughts
Mm.
and just observing what's happening inside.
Exactly. And that's where mindfulness comes in. By practicing mindfulness, you become more aware of your thoughts, feelings, and even your physical sensations in the present moment, without judgment.
And as you become more in tune with your inner landscape, you gain the ability to manage your emotions more effectively. You start to recognize patterns in your behavior and make choices that align with your values.
Precisely. It's about becoming the conscious architect of your emotional experience, rather than reacting unconsciously to every situation.
So instead of just reacting to situations, I can become more intentional and skilled in how I handle my emotions.
That's the power of self-awareness and self-management in action. It equips you to navigate life's complexities with greater purpose and skill.
And speaking of navigating complexities, what about social awareness and managing relationships? Two other crucial parts of EI.
So social awareness builds upon that foundation of self-awareness, but it expands your focus to include the people around you. It involves listening attentively to your surroundings, picking up on nonverbal cues, and understanding the needs of others.
It's about going beyond your own perspective and seeing the world through the eyes of others.
Exactly. And once you develop this social awareness, you can start to cultivate stronger, more fulfilling relationships through effective relationship management. And the sources offer some really interesting tips on this front, particularly when it comes to, communication techniques that are common among like happy couples.
Okay, now you've got my attention. I'm always looking for ways to improve my relationships. What are some of these secrets to relationship success?
Well, one key technique is expressing appreciation, acknowledging and valuing the contributions of your partner, even for the seemingly small things.
It's about making them feel seen and appreciated, not taking their efforts for granted.
Exactly. Happy couples also, they avoid making assumptions. Instead of expecting their partner to read their mind, they communicate their needs and desires directly.
That's so important. It prevents resentments and misunderstandings from building up.
Absolutely. And when it comes to things like household responsibilities, happy couples tend to work as a team. They share the workload and rotate chores to make sure things feel fair and balanced.
It's about creating a tree partnership where everyone feels supported and valued.
And perhaps most importantly, happy couples, they communicate using positive language. They avoid judgment and criticism, focusing on understanding and empathy.
It's about creating a space for open and honest communication where both people feel safe to express their needs and feelings.
And what's really interesting is that these communication techniques, they're not limited to romantic relationships. They can benefit any interaction you have, whether it's with family, friends, or colleagues.
Yeah. It all comes back to building bridges of understanding through effective communication and genuine empathy.
You got it. And that ties directly into those core competencies of emotional intelligence. So let's take a closer look at these personal competencies that underpin EI and how they play out in real-world scenarios.
Okay, yeah, that sounds like a great place to start. What's the first competency on our list?
Well, let's begin with self-awareness, which, as we discussed, is the foundation of emotional intelligence. It's about understanding your strengths, weaknesses, values, and motivations.
It's about having a clear understanding of who you are, what makes you tick, and how you react in different situations.
And this is crucial for success because it allows you to make conscious choices that align with your values and goals.
It's about being the driver of your own life, not just reacting to whatever comes your way.
Exactly. And it also helps you identify your blind spots, those areas where you might need to seek feedback or support.
It's about being humble enough to recognize that you don't have all the answers and being open to learning from others.
The next competency is self-regulation, which builds upon self-awareness. It's about managing your emotions and impulses effectively.
It's about having the ability to stay calm under pressure, resist temptations, and avoid those knee-jerk reactions that can sometimes sabotage us.
Absolutely. The materials highlight a number of powerful techniques for developing self-regulation. These include practicing mindfulness, engaging in physical activity, and developing healthy coping mechanisms for stress. It's like building a toolbox of strategies that you can use when those difficult emotions arise.
So rather than letting our emotions control us, we can learn to manage them effectively and make choices that are in our best interest.
That's the power of self-regulation. It gives you the reins, so to speak, allowing you to steer your emotions in a direction that serves you.
Now, this next competency intrigues me. Motivation. What does it mean to cultivate intrinsic drive? And how do we set goals effectively?
So motivation is all about tapping into that inner fire that keeps you going, even when things get tough. It's about finding something that truly excites you and using that passion to fuel your efforts.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. When you're passionate about something, it doesn't feel like work.
Exactly. And the materials emphasize the importance of setting SMART goals, goals that are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. This provides a clear roadmap for success, breaking down big aspirations into smaller, more manageable steps.
It's like having a clear plan of action so you don't feel overwhelmed or lost along the way.
Exactly. And it helps you track your progress, celebrate your wins, and learn from any setbacks you encounter.
It's about creating a positive feedback loop that keeps you motivated and moving forward toward your goals.
Now, we've already touched on empathy, which is the fourth competency. It's about understanding and sharing the emotions of others.
It's about cultivating that ability to step into someone else's shoes and see the world from their perspective, feeling what they feel. But what are some specific examples of empathy in action? How does it actually show up in real-life situations?
Okay, so one example could be a manager who takes the time to understand their employees' concerns and perspectives, even if they don't agree with them. Another example could be a friend who offers a listening ear and a shoulder to cry on when you're going through a tough time. It's about being present, validating the other person's feelings, and offering support without judgment.
Those are great examples. It's about connecting with others on a human level, showing them that you care and understand.
And finally, we have social skills, which are crucial for building rapport, influencing others, resolving conflicts constructively, and being an effective leader.
So social skills aren't just about being the life of the party or having a silver tongue.
Right. It's about much more than that. It's about using your emotional intelligence to navigate the complexities of social interactions and create positive outcomes for yourself and those around you.
Okay, so what are some specific social skills that contribute to strong relationships, and how can we develop them?
Well, active listening is a big one, paying attention not just to the words being spoken, but also to the nonverbal cues. Clear communication is also essential, being able to express your thoughts and feelings in a way that's both assertive and respectful. And then there's conflict resolution, being able to approach disagreements in a constructive way, finding solutions that benefit everyone involved.
Yeah, these are definitely skills that can be learned and honed. It's about being intentional and putting in the effort to develop them. It makes me think about all the misconceptions surrounding emotional intelligence.
You're right. Let's address some common myths about EI that might be holding people back from realizing their full potential.
Okay, sounds good. Let's bust those myths wide open.
Myth number one, emotional intelligence is a woman's domain.
Oh, I've definitely heard that one before, but it just doesn't make sense to me.
Right. Emotions are a human experience, not gender specific. The research debunks this myth, highlighting that everyone, regardless of gender, needs to understand and manage their emotions effectively to thrive in life.
It's about recognizing that emotional intelligence is a valuable skill for anyone who wants to succeed in their relationships, at work, and in life as a whole.
Myth number two, emotional intelligence alone guarantees success.
That sounds a bit too good to be true.
You're right to be skeptical. While EI is a powerful asset, it's not a magic bullet. The sources clarify that success also requires hard work, skills, knowledge, and a bit of luck.
It's about recognizing that emotional intelligence is a valuable tool, but it's not the only tool. You still need to put in the effort and develop the necessary skills and knowledge to achieve your goals.
And that leads us to myth number three. Emotional intelligence means always being nice and avoiding conflict at all costs.
I've definitely encountered this misconception. Some people think that being emotionally intelligent means suppressing your own needs and becoming a doormat.
That's not it at all. The research emphasizes that emotional intelligence is about assertiveness, not aggression or passivity. It's about expressing your needs and boundaries clearly and respectfully, even in challenging situations.
It's about recognizing that healthy conflict can be productive, leading to positive change and deeper understanding.
And these are just a few of the myths that surround emotional intelligence. The important takeaway is that EI is a set of skills that anyone can learn and develop, and it benefits everyone, regardless of gender, background, or aspirations.
It's about empowering yourself to become a more self-aware, skilled, and compassionate individual, capable of navigating life's complexities with greater ease and success.
And speaking of navigating complexities, let's dive into some of the common obstacles that might pop up on your journey to developing greater emotional intelligence.
Okay, yeah, sounds like a good plan. Let's face these challenges head on and figure out how to overcome them.
One common obstacle is denial. This is the refusal to acknowledge that you need to change or that your emotions are impacting you and the people around you. It's like having blinders on, ignoring the signals that something needs to shift.
It takes courage to take a look in the mirror and acknowledge areas where we might need to grow.
Absolutely. And the research suggests that honest self-reflection is key to overcoming denial. Seeking feedback from trusted sources can also be incredibly valuable.
It's about being open to hearing how our actions and emotions are impacting others, and being willing to make adjustments.
Another obstacle is defeatism, the belief that your emotional shortcomings are fixed traits that can't be changed.
Oh, it's that I'm just this way, take it or leave it mentality.
Yeah, exactly. But the research actually counters this belief by highlighting the remarkable plasticity of the brain. Our brains are constantly changing and adapting, which means we have the capacity to learn and grow, even in areas where we've struggled in the past.
It's about embracing a growth mindset, believing in your ability to develop and improve, even in areas that have felt challenging in the past.
Another challenge can be negative influences, being surrounded by people who don't value or practice emotional intelligence.
It's like being stuck in a toxic environment that drains your energy and reinforces those negative patterns.
Exactly. And in those situations, the research suggests seeking out positive influences and surrounding yourself with people who inspire you to be your best self.
It's about recognizing the impact of our social circle and making choices to connect with people who support our growth.
Another obstacle is perfectionism, setting such high expectations for yourself that you end up discouraged and overly self-critical.
It's that constant striving for flawlessness that can leave you feeling inadequate and never good enough.
In this case, the research encourages self-compassion, accepting that you're human, you will make mistakes, but that doesn't diminish your worth or potential. It's about learning to be kind to yourself, celebrating your progress, and focusing on growth rather than perfection.
That's a powerful message. We're often our own worst critics.
Absolutely. And finally, a common challenge is sensitivity to criticism. This is when you let negative opinions derail your progress and prevent you from taking risks or pursuing your goals.
It's that fear of judgment that can hold us back from putting ourselves out there.
Yeah, and the sources offer some tips for managing this sensitivity. It starts with recognizing that not all criticism is created equal.
It's about discerning between constructive feedback that can help us grow and unhelpful negativity that's best to simply ignore.
Exactly. And it's also about developing a strong sense of self-worth, recognizing that your value doesn't depend on the opinions of others.
It's about building that inner confidence that allows you to take criticism in stride and use it as an opportunity for growth rather than letting it define you.
By acknowledging and addressing these obstacles, you can smooth out your emotional intelligence journey.
It's about equipping yourself with the right tools and mindset to overcome challenges and continue growing, even when things get tough. Now I'm curious about some specific techniques and strategies we can incorporate into our lives to boost our EI and actually, see those benefits.
Well, you're in luck, because the material highlights some very specific and actionable practices, some of which might surprise you. One practice that might raise an eyebrow is daily cold showers.
Whoa, starting the day with a cold shower. That definitely sounds like a challenge. I'm intrigued, but I'm not sure I'm brave enough for that yet. What's the reasoning behind it?
Well, the research suggests that cold showers can actually be more than just a shock to the system. They can actually increase your awareness and boost your energy levels. They can also help you practice discipline and even increase your tolerance for discomfort.
It's like a mini boot camp for your willpower.
That's a great way to put it. And there are a few different approaches to cold showers. You can try contrast therapy, alternating between hot and cold water, or you can go straight for the cold plunge if you're feeling really adventurous.
I think I'll start with the contrast therapy and see how it goes. What are some other techniques?
Another technique highlighted in the sources is intermittent fasting. This involves cycling between periods of eating and fasting.
Oh, yeah, I've heard about this. It's been gaining popularity lately, and it seems like the benefits go beyond weight loss.
You're right. The materials suggest that intermittent fasting can increase mental clarity, boost energy levels, and even improve discipline, kind of similar to those cold showers we just talked about.
It's fascinating how challenging our bodies and minds can have these positive ripple effects.
Yeah, it really is. And the research suggests starting with like a shorter fasting window, maybe 8 hours, and then gradually increasing it as you become more comfortable.
It's about listening to your body and finding what works best for you.
Now, this next technique might be particularly appealing to those who value productivity, waking up extremely early.
Ah, the early bird gets the worm. But how early are we talking here?
Well, the material highlights the example of waking up at 4:30 a.m., a practice popularized by former Navy SEAL Commander Jocko Willink.
Okay, wow. That's dedication. But I can see the appeal. Having those extra hours in the morning before the day's distractions kick in could be a game changer for productivity.
Exactly. The sources describe how waking up early can give you that uninterrupted time for focused work or creative pursuits or even exercise.
It's like getting a head start on the day, setting yourself up for success.
While waking up extremely early might not be for everyone, I think it's worth experimenting with to see if it aligns with your lifestyle and goals.
Yeah. Maybe I can finally tackle those personal projects I've been putting off. What other productivity boosting techniques are there?
Another practice that can make a big difference is establishing a strict daily routine.
Oh, yeah. I can see how that would be helpful for creating structure and reducing decision fatigue.
The materials explain how a set routine can free up mental energy and reduce stress, allowing you to focus on your priorities.
It's like having a blueprint for your day, so you don't waste time and energy figuring out what to do next. What kind of activity should we include in this routine?
The research emphasizes the importance of incorporating activities that promote emotional well-being, like exercise, mindfulness, and spending time in nature. It's about creating a daily schedule that supports both your productivity and your overall well-being.
That makes perfect sense. So are there any specific techniques for calming the mind,
Yeah,
managing stress?
absolutely. One that's highlighted in the materials is mindfulness meditation. It's about bringing your attention to the present moment, observing your thoughts and feelings without judgment.
Mindfulness seems to be everywhere these days, but it can be hard to know what it actually means in practice.
You're right, there's a lot of buzz around it. But at its core, mindfulness meditation is about learning to be present in the here and now, rather than dwelling on the past or worrying about the future. The research shows that this practice can improve your focus, reduce stress, and enhance your ability to regulate your emotions.
It's like training your mind to become like a more peaceful and observant space,
Yeah,
rather than a battlefield of chaotic thoughts.
that's a great way to put it. And the research suggests starting with short meditation sessions, even just a few minutes a day, and then gradually increasing the duration as you become more comfortable. It's about making mindfulness a regular habit.
So it's not about becoming a meditation master overnight, but rather about incorporating it into our daily routine to reap those benefits. What other techniques can we use to harness the power of our minds?
One technique I find really fascinating is visualization, which involves using your imagination to create mental images that evoke positive emotions and inspire you to take action.
Oh, it's like creating a mental movie of yourself achieving your goals, experiencing the emotions and sensations as if it were already happening.
Exactly. The materials describe how visualization can boost your confidence, reduce stress, and even help you achieve your goals more effectively.
Yeah. I've heard about athletes using visualization to improve their performance.
That's a great example. And the research suggests practicing visualization in a relaxed state, closing your eyes, and engaging all of your senses to make the experience as vivid as possible.
It's about immersing yourself in the mental picture, allowing yourself to feel the positive emotions associated with achieving your desired outcome.
And finally, there's guided imagery, which is a relaxation technique that involves imagining a peaceful and calming scene. You engage all of your senses to create a deeply immersive and relaxing experience.
It's like taking a mental vacation
Yeah,
to a place of tranquility.
exactly. And the research shows that guided imagery can be incredibly effective for reducing stress, anxiety, and even physical pain.
I can see how that would be helpful for calming the mind and body, especially in our fast-paced world, where it's so easy to get caught up in stress and overwhelm.
Absolutely. And the research suggests finding a comfortable position, closing your eyes, and listening to a guided imagery script or recording. That will lead you through a series of relaxing and sensory-rich visualizations. It's about letting go of tension and allowing your mind and body to be transported to a place of peace and restoration.
These are all fantastic techniques. It's inspiring to see how many different approaches there are to cultivating emotional intelligence and enhancing our well-being. It's not a one-size-fits-all approach, but rather a buffet of options to choose from.
I love that analogy. It's about finding the practices that resonate with you and incorporating them into your daily routine. It reminds me of a point I found really interesting in the materials, the emphasis on empathy as a cornerstone of emotional intelligence.
Empathy is such a powerful force. It's about connecting with others on a heart level. I'm curious to explore its benefits and practical applications in our daily lives.
Well, the materials highlight that empathy is about more than just feeling sorry for someone. It's about stepping into their shoes, seeing the world through their eyes, and genuinely understanding their emotions and perspectives.
It's about recognizing our shared humanity and connecting on a deeper level. What are some of the benefits of cultivating empathy?
Well, the research shows that empathy can lead to stronger relationships, improved communication, increased compassion, and a greater sense of connection. It can also help us resolve conflicts more effectively and create more harmonious environments.
It sounds like empathy is essential for building a more compassionate and understanding world.
Absolutely. And when it comes to developing empathy, the research offers some valuable guidance. One of the key steps is recognizing that empathy is a skill that can be learned and nurtured.
It's not just something you're born with or without.
Exactly. And one of the most effective ways to cultivate empathy is through active listening. Putting away distractions, making eye contact, and asking thoughtful questions to demonstrate that you're genuinely interested in understanding the other person's experience.
It's about creating a space where they feel heard, validated, and understood, not just waiting for your turn to speak.
Right. And the research also emphasizes the importance of allowing yourself to be vulnerable, showing your human side, letting the other person know that you're not perfect and that you've experienced similar struggles.
That makes sense. When someone shares their vulnerability with us, it creates a sense of trust and invites us to open up as well.
And that shared human experience can be incredibly powerful for fostering empathy and building deeper connections.
Are there any other ways we can cultivate empathy?
Well, the material suggests actively challenging your own biases. It's about questioning those assumptions that can cloud your judgment and prevent you from seeing things from other people's perspectives.
It's about being willing to step outside of our comfort zones and consider different viewpoints, even if they challenge our own beliefs.
Exactly. And one final tip that the sources suggest is using your imagination. Even if you haven't personally experienced something, try to envision what it would be like to walk in that person's shoes, imagine their thoughts, feelings, and experiences.
It's about cultivating that ability to connect with someone else's emotions, even if we haven't shared their specific journey. All of these insights on empathy make me appreciate its profound impact on our relationships and our well-being. Now I'm curious about how emotional intelligence plays out in the workplace, particularly in leadership roles.
That's a great question. The materials highlight how emotional intelligence is a crucial differentiator for successful leaders.
It makes sense. Leaders aren't just dealing with tasks and strategies, they're dealing with people.
Exactly. It's about going beyond technical expertise
Yeah.
and embracing the human element of leadership. And one of the key ways that emotional intelligence enhances leadership is through communication.
Yeah, I can see how that would be critical. Leaders need to be able to convey their vision clearly, inspire their teams, and listen to their concerns.
Absolutely. Leaders with high emotional intelligence, they are skilled communicators, both verbally and non-verbally. They can articulate their ideas clearly and effectively, read the room, and adjust their communication style to different audiences.
It's about mastering the art of communication,
Huh?
using it to build trust, foster collaboration, and create a shared sense of purpose within their teams.
And another important aspect of leadership where emotional intelligence shines is conflict resolution. Conflicts are inevitable in any workplace, but emotionally intelligent leaders are skilled at navigating those conflicts effectively and finding solutions that benefit everyone involved.
I can see how that would be valuable. Conflicts can either escalate and create division, or they can be opportunities for growth and understanding.
That's a great point. Emotionally intelligent leaders, they're skilled at mediating disputes, finding common ground, and creating win-win situations. They can turn conflict into a catalyst for positive change.
It's about shifting from a mindset of us versus them to a mindset of we're all in this together, let's find a solution that works for everyone.
Exactly. And emotional intelligence also plays a key role in team building.
I imagine it's essential for creating a work environment where people feel valued, respected, and supported, a place where they can thrive and do their best work.
Absolutely. Leaders with high emotional intelligence, they are adept at recognizing and appreciating the strengths and talents of their team members. They cultivate a culture of collaboration, trust, and mutual respect, creating a sense of belonging and shared purpose.
It's about bringing out the best in each individual and creating a symphony of diverse talents, working together in harmony.
That's a beautiful way to put it. And emotionally intelligent leaders are also great at motivating and inspiring their teams. They can tap into their team members' intrinsic drive, help them connect their work to a larger purpose, and create a sense of excitement and enthusiasm around shared goals.
It's about painting a compelling vision of the future, recognizing achievements, and providing support and encouragement during challenging times.
Exactly. And all of these qualities contribute to a more positive and productive work environment, which benefits everyone.
It's about creating a workplace where people feel engaged, motivated, and fulfilled, where they can contribute their best work and feel like they're making a meaningful difference.
And that positive and productive work environment often leads to increased profitability, greater innovation, and higher customer satisfaction. It's a win-win for everyone involved.
It makes you wonder why some people still dismiss emotional intelligence as a soft skill that's irrelevant in business.
It's definitely a misconception. The research really strongly emphasizes that emotional intelligence is a vital driver of success in the business world.
Businesses are made up of people, and understanding and managing human emotions is essential for effective leadership, teamwork, customer service, and innovation.
You got it. The sources point to numerous studies showing a strong correlation between emotional intelligence and positive business outcomes. Companies with emotionally intelligent leaders and employees tend to see higher levels of employee engagement, productivity, customer loyalty, and overall profitability.
It's a competitive advantage that can make all the difference in today's fast-paced and complex business environment.
Absolutely. And it's becoming even more important as businesses need to adapt, innovate, and cultivate strong relationships to thrive in the face of constant change.
Now, I'd love to delve into a topic that I think many of us struggle with at times, dealing with people who have low emotional intelligence.
It's definitely a challenge we all face at some point.
Yeah.
We've all encountered those individuals who seem to lack self-awareness, empathy, or the ability to regulate their emotions effectively.
Yeah, it can be frustrating and draining to interact with these individuals. What are some tips for navigating these challenging relationships?
Well, the materials offer some valuable advice on this front. First, it's crucial to remember that we can't change other people, but we can change how we interact with them and manage our own emotions effectively.
It's about recognizing our own limitations
Yeah.
and focusing on what we can control.
Exactly. And one of the key strategies highlighted in the research is setting boundaries.
Oh, I can see how that would be important. It's about protecting our own emotional well-being by establishing clear limits on what we're willing to tolerate.
Absolutely. And it also involves communicating your boundaries assertively but respectfully, letting the other person know what behavior is acceptable and what's not.
It's about taking responsibility for our own emotional health and not allowing ourselves to be drained or manipulated by someone else's lack of emotional intelligence. Are there any other strategies we can use?
Another strategy is choosing your battles wisely. It's about recognizing that not every disagreement or conflict is worth engaging in, especially with someone who's not receptive to feedback or personal growth.
Sometimes it's better to walk away or disengage to preserve our own energy and sanity.
Exactly. And even when dealing with someone who is, lacking in empathy, the materials emphasize the importance of trying to practice empathy ourselves.
That sounds counterintuitive. Why would we try to empathize with someone who isn't showing us empathy?
Well, it's not about condoning their behavior, but rather about trying to understand the underlying reasons for their actions. They might be struggling with their own emotional challenges or past experiences that are shaking their behavior.
It's about recognizing that everyone is on their own journey, and some people might be further along than others when it comes to emotional development.
And while empathy doesn't excuse their actions, it can help us approach the situation with greater compassion and understanding.
Yeah. It's a reminder that everyone is fighting their own battles, and sometimes the people who are the hardest to love need it the most.
And speaking of challenges, let's explore a specific type of challenging individual that you might encounter. Energy vampires.
Energy vampires. The name itself sounds draining. What are the telltale signs of an energy vampire?
Well, the materials describe energy vampires as those individuals who drain your emotional energy, leaving you feeling depleted and exhausted. They can be found in all areas of our lives, from our personal relationships to our workplaces.
They're like emotional black holes, sucking the life force out of everyone around them.
That's a great way to put it. And the sources highlight some common traits of energy vampires: a constant need for attention, a tendency to complain and blame others, a lack of empathy for the impact of their behavior, and a talent for creating drama and chaos.
They sound like emotional predators, feeding off the energy of those around them. How can we protect ourselves from these energy drainers?
The materials offer some practical advice for dealing with energy vampires and protecting your emotional well-being. One key strategy is recognizing the signs early on.
So it's about paying attention to how we feel after interacting with certain people.
Exactly. Notice if you feel drained, exhausted, or negative after spending time with someone. Also, observe their behavior patterns. Do they constantly complain, blame others, or create drama?
It's about becoming aware of those red flags that signal an energy vampire might be lurking. What should we do once we've identified an energy vampire?
Well, the materials emphasize the importance of setting clear boundaries with energy vampires, just like we discussed with individuals who have low emotional intelligence in general.
It's about recognizing that we have the right to protect our emotional well-being and to limit our exposure to toxic influences.
Exactly. It's about establishing limits on how much time and energy you're willing to invest in the relationship and communicating those boundaries clearly.
So it's about saying no to their requests for attention or support, or limiting our interactions to essential matters. What if setting boundaries isn't enough?
Sometimes you might need to take more drastic measures, such as limiting your exposure to their negativity.
This might involve avoiding certain social situations, keeping conversations brief, or even ending the relationship altogether if it's too damaging to your well-being.
You're exactly right. It's about making choices that prioritize your own emotional health.
Yeah, I can imagine that.
Yeah.
Staying calm and grounded would be crucial when dealing with energy vampires.
Absolutely. They often thrive on drama and chaos, feeding off the emotional reactions of others. By staying calm and refusing to get drawn into their whirlwind, you can minimize their impact on you.
It's about being the eye of the storm, maintaining your composure while they're swirling around you, trying to suck you into their vortex of negativity.
That's a great image. And finally, the research highlights the importance of practicing self-care to replenish your energy after interacting with an energy vampire.
This might involve engaging in activities that nourish your soul, such as spending time in nature, listening to uplifting music, practicing mindfulness, or connecting with loved ones who bring you joy.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that. You need to recharge your batteries after being exposed to negativity and prioritize activities that restore your emotional balance and well-being.
All of these strategies can make a huge difference in how we navigate those tricky relationships with energy vampires. Now, I'm curious to learn about this concept of emotional granularity you mentioned earlier.
Ah, yes. This is a fascinating aspect of emotional intelligence that can truly transform how you experience and manage your emotions.
So remind me again what emotional granularity is all about. It sounds like it has something to do with having a deeper understanding of our emotions.
It does. Emotional granularity is the ability to distinguish between subtle variations in our emotional experiences. Instead of just labeling our feelings as good or bad, we can use a more nuanced vocabulary to pinpoint exactly what we're feeling.
So instead of just saying, I feel bad, I might say I'm feeling disappointed, I'm a bit frustrated, but I'm also hopeful that things will work out.
Exactly. And the research indicates that this ability to differentiate our emotions has a ton of benefits.
That makes sense. The more we understand our emotions, the better we can manage them.
Precisely. Emotional granularity can help us regulate our emotions more effectively, communicate our feelings more clearly to others, and make more informed decisions.
It's like having a detailed emotional roadmap to help us navigate our inner world.
Yeah.
But how do we actually develop this emotional granularity?
The materials offer a few techniques. One suggestion is to start paying closer attention to the physical sensations associated with different emotions.
So if I'm feeling anxious, I might notice that my chest feels tight, or if I'm feeling joyful, I might feel a sense of lightness and expansion in my chest.
Exactly. By tuning in to those subtle physical cues, we can start to distinguish between emotions that might feel similar on the surface.
It's like learning to speak the language of our bodies and understanding the messages our emotions are sending us.
Another technique is to practice labeling our emotions with greater precision. Instead of just saying, I feel bad, we can try to pinpoint the specific emotion. I'm feeling disappointed or I'm feeling overwhelmed.
I love that. It reminds me of those color wheels artists use to mix and match different shades and hues. With emotional granularity, we're expanding our emotional palette and becoming more expressive and articulate in how we communicate our feelings.
That's a great analogy. And the research even suggests using tools like feelings wheels or emotion dictionaries to broaden our emotional vocabulary.
That's a fantastic tip. I'm definitely going to check those out. It seems like emotional granularity is a key ingredient for boosting our overall emotional intelligence.
It absolutely is. By developing a more nuanced understanding of our emotions, we can become more self-aware, better at regulating our emotions, and more adept at navigating our relationships.
It's an investment in our emotional well-being that pays dividends in all areas of our lives. Now I'm curious to wrap things up by revisiting the key takeaways from all these materials.
That sounds like a great way to bring our deep dive to a close. One of the most important takeaways is that emotional intelligence is not something we're born with. It's a set of skills that we can learn and develop over time.
That's such an empowering message. It means that we're not stuck with whatever emotional patterns we've inherited. We have the power to change and grow.
Absolutely. And another key takeaway is that emotional intelligence is essential for success in all areas of life, our relationships, our work, and our overall well-being.
It's the secret sauce that can help us communicate more effectively, solve problems, creatively lead with inspiration, and bounce back from challenges with resilience.
And the research reminds us that emotional intelligence isn't about being perfect or always having it all together. It's
Yeah.
about embracing our humanness with all of its complexities and imperfections.
I love that. It takes the pressure off. We don't have to be emotional superheroes to benefit from emotional intelligence.
Exactly. It's about being willing to learn to grow, to make mistakes, and to ask for help when we need it. And speaking of journeys, the materials emphasize that emotional intelligence is not a destination, but a lifelong pursuit.
It's a continuous process of self-discovery, growth, and connection.
You got it. And as you continue on your emotional intelligence journey, be patient with yourself, celebrate your progress, and embrace the transformative power of emotions in shaping a more fulfilling and meaningful life.
This deep dive has been so insightful. I feel like I have a whole new set of tools and perspectives to work with. Before we wrap up, I have one final thought-provoking question that came up while I was reviewing the materials. It really got me thinking. If emotions are transient, meaning they come and go like waves in the ocean, what does that suggest about the nature of ourself over time?
That's a great question. It invites us to consider whether our self is also constantly changing and evolving, just like the flow of our emotions.
It makes you wonder if we're more like rivers,
Yeah.
constantly in motion, shaped by the experiences we encounter along the way.
That's a beautiful way to put it. It's a reminder that we're not static beings, but rather dynamic and ever-changing.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the fascinating world of emotional intelligence. We hope you found it valuable.
It's been a pleasure exploring these ideas with you.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep growing, and keep connecting with the power of emotional intelligence.